Now we're recording here, straight up. So, all right. So let's do intros. Welcome to For Your Viewings official podcast, episode 2 of Down the Rabbit Hole. This is the first time we're posting it on YouTube because we both have our cameras finally working. Here we have with me Freebolt, and I am your host, Kidril. Tonight's topic is going to be, what are we going to discuss tonight?
Spiritual paths.
Spiritual paths. All right. Where should we kick this off with?
Well, we were discussing earlier before we came into this episode. Guardians was a term that not a lot of people hear, and what it possibly can mean in the spiritual community.
Yeah, that's I've actually never heard that term guardians used before tonight actually. But where does that where does that come from? What path does that come from or culture?
I never have really seen it overall in a culture, but when you look into some of the Native American things, you have protectors or protectorship. You look at your main rung, you have your warriors, which are all protectors, and so on and so forth. So it's more of a term that I started to adopt, but you see it in cultures. You always have a view of good and evil, protectors, warriors, and it's one of the things that I slowly started to adapt myself as a guardianship. And the general meaning, I mean, as a guardian in a spiritual path, you have the ability or the means of self that you rise above um, humanity in a sense. Like, you don't judge purely because you can. You look past all your preconceived notions. You just see things at a higher plane than the rest of everyone else.
Sure, yeah,
Is
basically out of the box thinking. You don't put anybody in a box, you don't put anybody in a certain construct within one's self perceived mind that society has made you look at that in that certain light, which society unfortunately has its way of doing that.
compartmentalizing, I think, is a good term to use. Everything's got to
Yeah.
fit in its nifty little place, its little caste system,
Yeah.
and it's always kind of been that way. I mean, from medieval times even to now, we still separate ourselves in middle class, poverty level, and so on.
Yeah, that's true. I wish we wouldn't, but here we are, still doing that.
Yes, we do. We do. Another little aspects about a guardian type thing. So, like, you fill that role of protector. You give people hope. You renew their faith in humanity. You're always attracting people to you without trying to. Like, you sit down at a bar and you're trying to have a good time. The next thing, you got Joe Schmo sitting next to you, and all of a sudden he's spilling his deepest, darkest secrets that he wouldn't even tell his fit therapist. And here you are working through it, and because you're not just going to get up and walk away, you sit there and you listen to it and you give the best advice you possibly can. But it's at the same time, you're also a little bit separated from yourself because there's a lot of natural fluidity to it with everything you say. It's just words come to you. You make sense with everything you say, and people tell me that all the time when I sit down and I'm talking to them. That why is it always that you say exactly what I need to hear the way I need to hear it, like
Hmm.
every time? It just nobody can do that every time, and it's I don't know, it just happens.
Yeah. It's the exact same thing with me, like we were discussing earlier. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know how we do it. It's just whenever we're talking to somebody, it's almost like we have just this link to that person and we just know what to say so they understand it in some kind of concept or metaphor that they can understand easier than just trying to describe it or explain it in their own way. And somehow they always get it.
Well, on top of that, even if you have no understanding of the metaphor you're using, it's still a metaphor you end up using. Like,
Yeah.
where'd that come out of? I just pulled that out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I'm still here and I'm still paying attention. I'm making our screen a little bit more pretty as we're doing this here. I'm putting our logos on it.
Oh, that's what you're doing. You're
Yep.
multitasking.
I am multitasking, yes. I got our for-year viewing listening edition and Cross Thumbs production on here now, so
There we go.
yeah. There we
Branding
go.
101.
All right, all right. Cool, cool.
But as you look
Yeah.
through, yay! As you look through though, like you have the many different paths. You got, paths of necromancy. You got your psychics. You got all these different categories of paths. You got your left-handed paths. You got your right-handed paths. You have your different religious practices, which are different paths: voodoo, hoodoo, Native American. I mean, the list is essentially endless.
It really is, yeah. And it's really interesting when you really dive into all the different paths and where they started from. And I mean, you could go down the list really, really far back, but it's mostly hedge witching at that point when you go over to Europe and you start looking into it because they didn't want to keep a written documentation of their existence, their path, because if they were caught with it, then they would be automatically, ooh, witch, burn her, burn them, whatever. So it became passed down via word and verbal passing on, which is a
Uh,
hedge witching.
Another
So,
good example of that throughout time is the Druidic practice.
oh yeah.
Anything before 1750 is just gone. It doesn't exist. It was all word of mouth and people within the practice, and it just one day it disappears. And then
Mm-hmm.
anything Druidic in nature is
Yep.
after like the 1850s, you start to see it cropping back again, but it's all this, we don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're Druidic. We follow nature,
Yeah.
but we don't know what our ancestors in that aspect did beforehand. Did they do ritual sacrifices? Did they do this? Did they do it's very spotty to find any true information based on the druidic heritage.
Yeah, and one thing that like I've set out and I've tried to learn and like learn as much as I possibly could about every single uh, path and tradition that there was out there. And oops, I'm moving the whole screen where I don't want to move it. And it's really difficult when you look in certain traditions, or you know what I mean. Like it's really difficult because they don't have easy access into a lot of different informational hubs as far as what you can learn. A lot of people just say, well, get books, but there's not really a book that'll tell you everything that you want to know about the druids. So you have to find somebody that's in the OBDO, or what is it, OBOD, right? The OBOD, OBOD.
I have no clue what anyone calls it.
Uh,
I'm self
it's
practicing, self
it's
taught, so
basically I'm totally going and reaching in my
like
catacomic brain here, but it's like Ovat, Bard, something or another. It's yeah. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll look that up right now here, so I don't actually totally just destroy this. Druid
sounds like you need to
Obod.
be accredited at this point.
It is Obod. It's just I don't remember what it stands for. Order of Bards, Ovats, and Druids. Druids, yeah. So it's basically this thing that you have to be a part of and you have to buy membership to just to learn about it. Like when I was trying to learn about the Druidic order, I found myself far and few between, and I found myself between a rock and a hard place because I had to purchase a membership with the OBOD in order to learn about the OBOD. And I was like, well, to me personally, all of this information should be freely given so people can make up their own minds about it, not why would you it's that's no different than a church at this point, but a church, everybody has been told about it and proselytized about it, not join this this secret order by paying us money so we can teach you about it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a cult at that point, but don't take me in any way different here. I'm not saying that druids are a cult. Don't take that away from this. It's not what I'm saying at all. At all. I don't want people to be like, "Oh my god, she called druids a cult." That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it's really hard to learn anything about the druidic order without having to buy a
It's
membership or
it's it, it
finding somebody in the OBOD, which I found the people that are like, yeah, I'm a druid, join the OBOD. So if you want to learn about it, they're just basically set up to say, join the OBOD so you can learn about it. It's like, this is not what I want to do here. You know, I would like to look into it a little bit to see if this is the way I want to go, not buy a whole membership just to see if I like it.
yeah. It's definitely draws a lot of lines in how you have to go about things. And then nowadays too, everyone gets really hung up on the cultural aspects of it, and appropriating and all that stuff. But closed practices are turning into a big thing. Like voodoo, hoodoo, all those. You have
Oh,
to
yeah.
know somebody in them. You have to. I mean, it's just insane. I got to learn a little bit myself when I was in the service. I knew some people that actually practiced a little bit of these different types. However, no, they didn't claim they did. You know, it took a while to gain that type of confidence with certain people where they were like, I will share some of this with you.
Right.
Um, Always intriguing,
Whoa.
unique. One of the biggest things is the biggest thing I ever took away, and I always found it fascinating, was with voodoo. There's a crushed red brick is one way they do it,
Yep.
and if you crush red brick and you throw it in your doorway on your thresholds, it protects people from coming in that mean you harm. And that was one of the things I buy. It was one of the most intriguing things that I ever learned of it. Sometimes in voodoo, there's animal sacrifice in that too. I've seen call for that on a few occasions. But you have to look at the big picture of the whole ritual aspect of some of these things too. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stigma when it comes to, somebody says sacrifice, and it's automatic. Oh no, sacrifice, that's bad. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a it's very hard to explain. It's just there's more to it than the sacrifice itself. Whether it's you can sacrifice memories, you can sacrifice feelings, you can sacrifice so many other things in place of animal sacrifice or that. And it's unique because of this grander scheme of things. There's a very big respect between the practitioner and what they're using or what they're going through, or whatever the sacrifice may be. There's a huge amount of respect,
Right.
and that's something a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. Um, I don't know. Speaking as from the aspect of like, I started my journey searching for a spiritual path at the young, ripe old age of 12 when I was kicked out of my church. There's a kitten that just clawed the crap out of me. Hello, kitten. Um, I was kicked out because I asked questions that the priest didn't like me asking, and I thought they were just really simple questions. You know, like, why must we go to a building once a week to worship when you are telling us that in order to worship or feel God, that, you know, he's everywhere. He is in everything at all times. So why do we have to go here? And he didn't like that, so he kicked me out. So I started searching way back when, and I became mostly, I guess, a theologist. I dove into every single path, tradition, spiritual uh, path that I could find, and I eventually settled on Whedon, which is the Celtic path, which is more so focused around, I guess you would say, white magic, and that's when I dove into it really hardcore, and I found myself. Um, I'm not even sure, how in the heck I found her or how we found each other, but Lady Valley, she used to be a pagan leader in the Fox Valley, and she kind of took me under her wing, and she taught me a lot about everything, about the different paths and what it meant to her and what it meant to other people. And I started noticing that it wasn't so much white magic, dark magic, black magic, whatever you want to call it. It's gray magic. Every magic has gray magic. It's very balanced. There's no one way to, I mean, there is black magic, there is white magic, but most magic is gray magic. And I went through so many paths. I started with Whedon, I went to Wiccan, then I found Alexandrian and Gardnerian, and that's when I understood that Raymond Buckland is the one who brought it over from England from Gerald Gardner, who was a hedge witch, basically, who it was just passed down through tradition to him, and then he gave it to Raymond Buckland, and Raymond Buckland brought it over here in the 60s and basically made it a college course to teach everybody. And that's what became New Age Wicca. And then you just keep searching, and then there's, Aleister Crowley with the Thelemic tradition and the Golden Dawn aspect of it, and then and then if you really want to get down to it, Satanism even kind of falls into the aspect of a spiritual path, but that's more like the true history of Satanism is it was formed by Anton LaVey to basically mock Christianity. So I mean that's not too much paganism at this point, but it has morphed into a pagan path. So there's different branches of it nowadays, whereas back when it was first originated, it wasn't. But I mean, there's so many paths out there that for people who are searching, I could see it being very confusing. And when people aren't openly forthgiving with knowledge and information, it can be extremely confusing and
overwhelming would be a very good term.
Yes, very overwhelming. In 2009, 4 years already after I had started my coven, which most of us I shouldn't say most of us, but most of the congregation following that was in the coven followed more of the generalized Wiccan format. And then in 2009, I decided I wanted to branch out and turn it into more of an organization. And thus Spirit Circle Community was born, and I wanted to focus on being eclectic mostly, so we could be inviting of many different paths from different walks of life. And we actually had a lot of Catholic people come to our Sabbats and high days because they were looking for something different and unique and found us on the internet. And man, if that wasn't a weird thing, having Catholics at a Sabbat.
I mean, I'm kind of a unique enigma to myself. Like, I follow Christianity, I follow, a Wiccan, Druidic. I'm kind of a collage, a little bit of Buddhism in there too. I kind of branched into multiple, and one of the biggest questions I always get asked is, how can you be a Christian and practice Wiccan
Right.
at the same time? Because, like, the Bible, oh my God, magic is bad. You can't do magic. Magic is evil. And when you really look at the stories within the Bible themselves, whether it's God endows you with power to do the things you do, or miracles is another term you could use as a replacement for magic in itself. And the main thing about Christianity that I have always followed is you have your 10 Commandments. Those are kind of your paramount scripture that you really need to pay attention to, as far as I am aware.
Kitten.
Because that's like your rules, your laws, so to speak, and that's what I take away from Christianity is your 10 Commandments. And then as far as the Wiccan Druidic path, I hunt, I fish, I like to spend my time in nature. Every time I'm in nature, it's a spiritual journey every time. Hunting, I'll sit 8 hours a day sitting in a hunting stand out in the woods by myself, just communing with nature, so to speak, watching, listening. Um, Everywhere you go, if you pay attention, nature will always give you an answer. Always.
Yeah. I don't know why this thing keeps going so dark. I have every light like making it a sun in here. There are like 3,000 suns in here right now and it's still showing up dark. I don't know what to do with it. Whatever. Speaking of the Christian aspect of it, have you heard of a person called Diane Paxton? She actually wrote a book about Christian paganism, and she takes aspects from both of it. And her biggest thing was the comparison that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost is nothing more than the masculine version of the Mother, Maiden, and Crone. So
Hmm.
she combines it and creates this whole new path for Christians to be pagan, because her point of view is it's it's okay to blend faiths, because a faith is nothing more than just something to get you through your hard times. And if you're more apt to believing in the Christian path, then like people who have been Christian their whole lives, basically, but yet they've always seemed like they want something a bit more because they're not quite sure what's out there. So instead of being agnostic, she offers this option instead. Have you ever heard about that book or that path?
I haven't specifically heard about the path itself. I have heard of the comparison that you brought up. Once or twice I've seen it in passing, and I never put two and two together because I've only seen the comparison. I didn't know what it referred to specifically.
I got you. Yeah, it's really unique, I think, and it's a refreshing look. And some might say it's blasphemous, but honestly, it's a refreshing look, I think, into spirituality in itself as a whole, that you don't need to just do one thing in order to be spiritual, that you can combine multiple paths and be eclectic, because being an eclectic pagan is nothing new to the pagan community. But when you talk about being eclectic in terms of a monotheistic and polytheistic version and viewpoint, I mean, that's basically breaking the paradigm. It's shifting the paradigm so hard that people can't understand it, or they're against it because it's so different, because it's blasphemy.
Mm. I very well can see that how that interferes, how it works. For me, like I follow all the pantheons. Every whether there's this grand scheme of how this all works. Is there one God and all these are lesser gods, or whatever the case may be? I have no clue. However, I follow all the different pantheons simply because when you look at it, there's a lot of overlap between different gods of different
Pantheons.
paths, different pantheons. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between different ones, and a lot of them kind of seem the same. There's a cattail.
Yeah, there's cats everywhere in here now. Suddenly, they're everywhere.
Uh, and with that, it broadens your horizon and it makes you more acceptable and agreeable to understand other people's journeys, instead of just dismissing them outright.
Yeah. I'm trying to deal with my cat here. I don't know what he's doing. Oh my god, this cat. He's stepping on my
Trying to
keyboard.
saying hi to everyone
Yeah.
without saying hi. Oh, there you go, right to the mic.
He wants to go back outside, but it's, 2 in the morning and I'm not letting him outside, but he's whining. This is him saying, "Pay attention to me. I want to go outside, thank you." Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. There's so many different things and so many different aspects that people can take from and look from. And another one too is just the spiritual path in itself, not necessarily being a pagan pantheon of any sort. You know what I mean? Like they don't follow the Greek, or they don't follow Gardnerian, Alexandrian, Wiccan. They are just spiritual, because spirituality in itself is something that is becoming more precedent, or not precedent, I shouldn't say, is becoming more pronounced in the world. There's a lot of people following Buddhism and kill the bug and all that in the world too, but they're not even following per se a path. They're just spiritual, and they're basically living their life as a spiritual conduit rather than just claiming to follow something. And I think that's a pretty cool thing too. What do you think about that?
I look at spiritualism in itself as a path of self-betterment, strictly because you believe in many different things as just spiritual, but the aspect you take is you're the most spiritual embodiment that you can be, because it's yourself, your spirit, right. And then you promote self-growth and so on through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I've kind of seen it. I haven't seen too much any other way. I've seen some people, try and delve into different paths, and they always come back to their center, which is just, I'm spiritual. Yeah. I believe in all this stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have a bearing on me, type mentality.
I think everybody has their basis, like their base core of what they follow and what they believe in. And like when people ask me what I follow, I tell them that I'm eclectic with Nordic roots, because everything like that I mostly focus on is Asatru, and I'm a vulva. I've been practicing vulva for years now, and I like using Golderdorf, which is Norse shamanic magic based with sounds. So we use sounds in order to do magic. And I've always been called to the Norse pantheon. However, I didn't know where to begin, because as I've found out, it's the nickname of the Asatru path is the religion of homework, or the path of homework. It's because it's so deep. There's so much to learn about, and it's such a different mindset from any other path out there that you basically have to learn a whole new path, and it's something completely different. Granted, yes, it's still pagan because we still have multiple deities, but there's so much more homework involved because it's stories, lots of stories. The stories are what make it what it is. Like the Eddas. The Eddas tell us everything about the lives of our deities, rather than you have a different pantheon that's just, yeah, we know about this deity because this is, just some quick information throughout history. That's all we know. But ours is literal stories of everything, and it's so intensive. It's so intensive. But then later I found out why I felt like I was always drawn to it. And no, it's not because the TV show Vikings or because Vikings are awesome. I got my entire genome sequenced mostly for medical reasons. Well, 100% for medical reasons, because doctors couldn't find out what was wrong with me, and I was tired of them dicking the dog, so to speak, for 4 years, even though I had basically deduced what I had and brought it up to them, and they still shot me down. So I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys. This is how I'm going to find out what's wrong with me. I got my entire genome sequenced. And then after that was done and over with, and I got my medical diagnosis and everything, I was like, screw it. Let's see what my heritage is. Because my father was adopted with closed records. I know nothing about his side of the family at all. I dove into my mother's side of the family, and it could be traced all the way back to 700 AD to the Curonian Vikings, which is amazing. But my genes tell me that I'm Icelandic, Norwegian, Finnish, Dutch, and Irish. And I was like, well, that might explain maybe a little bit why I've always been drawn to the Nordic path, because that's basically what my whole family history is.
One way to go about it. One way to go about it
Yeah.
from a genetic profiling standpoint.
Yeah, like
It all has bearing.
like I didn't want to be that person that's like, cuz 2009 is when I first started diving into, like, I was like, okay, I've always been interested in the Nordic path, but I didn't know where to begin because there's so much information. Like I said, it's learning a whole different construct of religion, basically.
Layers upon layers upon layers, going back
Yeah.
for generations upon generations.
Yeah, and you just don't know where to start. So I started and I got almost nowhere. I just kept learning a few things, and I had nobody to help guide me through it. I didn't know anybody else in the Norse pantheon traditions, the northern traditions. So I was all on my own. So I basically just started looking up the mythology of it, and I've got, I don't know how many books of mythology regarding Nordic mythology, and that only takes you so far, surface deep. Basically, if you were just to get a mythology book or watch Hercules, the Disney movie, or Hercules with
Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo, exactly, like that's all it
Don't
teaches you. It's
don't
just,
forget Xena.
oh, I know, Lucy Lawless.
There you go.
Kevin Sorbo is an amazing guy. He's great. Like, I love his movies. I wonder, I really do wonder if he makes them B-rate on purpose or if it's just literally giving it all he's got. But anyway, I digress.
I digress.
Yes, see?
Um,
It's
for,
basically the same thing as like going back and looking at those. It's all surface deep. And then it wasn't until 2013, the fall of 2013 in autumn, after I started going through my separation with my ex-husband, that I really started digging really deep, and I found somebody to help guide me, and I was like really diving deep into it as much as I could on my own. And then I found somebody that was like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do, because it's I'm just going through a separation. I'm young. I'm in a band, a rock band. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna drink, and while I'm researching and drinking, I'm going to associate my life with the Nordic god of mead and drinking, which was Agir, who had a mile-long pot of mead. And when I brought it up to my friend Wade, who owns Deeply Rooted out in Athens, past Wausau, he was like, we were just chatting. He's like, so who do you look at for as your patron deity? And I'm like, Agir. And he was like, okay, that's interesting. No, he judged me, and I felt his judgment. And I was like, well, right now I do anyway. But it grew from there, and it slowly but surely I started opening the doors to more deeper avenues of research. And it was thanks to that embarrassment that day.
like yeah, yeah. For me, my basis is a lot different from that. My basic root into the whole community of different paths and everything. It all started off with meditation for me. I mean, I was kind of empathic as a kid, and that's really what sent me, because I started realizing I have all these extra emotions that I don't understand to begin with, because I got a little bit of Asperger's on top of that. Very high functioning. I fit into society just fine. I just don't understand everything about society. Like, it confuses me. Context.
Does anybody
Context.
really, though, understand
Wow,
society?
a lot more than me. Like, I took I got out of the service and I took one of them stupid tests to get a job at like TGIF,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, you didn't answer these right. Like, what do you mean I didn't answer these questions right?
Right.
They're like, well, we need you to explain some of your answers. Okay. And I mean, it was like different work environment scenarios, and I'm like, you don't have enough information here for me to like give you an honest answer. And on top of that, your honest answers are crap. Like, I don't want to pick one of them because they're not right to me. Like, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like, I'm going to solve this issue. No, I'm not going to solve this issue. I'm going to go get a manager. He can solve this issue. Like, that's the best choice, but you don't got it here. So why even give me these options if you ain't going to give me some common sense options,
I
like
gotcha.
something that, and it just, I can't pick a best scenario in that type of event. Like, my scenario is different than what they want me to pick from. Whatever. But meditation was my big break into it, and from meditation there was a Tai Chi was another thing that I started to follow a lot of. Tai Chi, the whole, not so much the martial arts aspect of it, which I know a little bit of Tai Chi martial arts. It's a very unique way of practicing, but the energy work of Tai Chi brought me into more meditation, Reiki, using energy naturally in a natural way. Your mind controls so much more than we actually understand. I mean, look at neurologists. Even they say
Yeah.
we barely understand 10% of the mind. Like, it's a black hole of information we have yet to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I went through it. I mean, like I said, I'm eclectic too in that sense because I will cross over, and over the years, I've helped many pagans, Wiccans, Druids, you name it. At some point, I've helped somebody. I've helped Christians deal with all sorts of issues, and it's it's unique, a unique view because I allow myself to look into and know a little bit of all these different things that I'm able to help others through different things.
Yeah, no, I get that exactly. That's the same thing with me. Only I didn't start with meditation. That came way later. I had a problem with meditation in my early years because my life was so chaotic. I tried to escape my life in other ways, not drugs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like I would completely just rebel against society and I would do things that could have probably got me in big trouble, but I did them because one, peers, two, because I didn't really give a shit, three, because this is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it. Like nothing really held me back as far as what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. I mean, I traveled to Pennsylvania when I was only, God, how old was I? 14, I think I was, 13 or 14, something like that. I traveled all by myself. I
Pretty
just
big trip.
met a dude on the internet and I asked my mom and she's like, sure. That's basically just to my home life was utter garbage. Just
If
that.
you're un, if you're under the age of 18, don't travel to Pennsylvania with some random guy on the internet.
Well, I didn't go
Just
with. I went to Pennsylvania to meet said guy on the internet. Like, I mean, like, I talked to him for 7 months, I think, about 7 months. It was a really long time. So, like, I got to know him. I got to know his entire family. I talked to his mom, his dad, his grandparents, all that shit. It was,
that
you know,
that changes things a little bit.
a little bit until I tell you I met a dude on Yahoo Messenger in a chat room, and he came and picked me up one day, and I just hung out with him for the weekend. He gave me a guitar and he dropped me off. That like I just needed to get out of my home because it was so horrible. I got beat. It was disgusting. It was like the worst episode of Hoarders that you had ever seen, and then some. Like dead cats in the freezer, check. Dead cats in the bathroom, check. Didn't have a litter box, let them go wherever, check. Old senile woman that smelt nothing like, I mean, she was covered in her own urea because nobody took care of her, check. Our floor was corkboard. It was an old boxcar home. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I was not taken care of as a teenager or a preteen, and I just sought any way out that I possibly could, which is probably why I got married at 16, honestly. It's probably definitely a huge factor in that. But when I found out, back to the actual topic, when I found out that I was empathic, I was 14 years old, and I had found a mentor that was guiding me after Lady Valley, that was guiding me through, uh, I believe his path was Whedonism mostly, but it was focused more around Wiccan. So he was guiding me through a lot of things, and he asked me one night if I was willing to help him in a ritual to basically destroy a Ouija board that had some bad energy in it that was used for things that shouldn't have been used for. They used it improperly, contacted some evil shit, and we did a ritual where I'll draw it out so I'm able to describe this properly, because if I describe it, I'm probably going to slaughter it here. So we cast 2 circles, okay? 2 circles.
Inner circle, outer circle.
It was like this.
Balance circles.
Yeah, and in the middle here, and right here is where we had the Ouija board oracle. Not the board, but the oracle itself. Because the oracle is what we decided had the most... That is what had the badness in it. So
Would be the planchette is what you're talking about, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that we decided to put in the middle, and that was going to be the balance point, so we could contain it properly and send whatever was in that or stuck in that or using that as a gateway back to wherever it came from, to just get rid of it. And I was the one in the middle, and I had a sword. I still have this sword, but now it has a different handle because it shattered during this moment. I took the sword like this, and I shoved it down into the planchette and shattered it. And when the planchette shattered, the handle shattered. It was just like the hard plastic handle. But
some power in that is
yeah,
what you're saying.
so
there was some definite
exactly.
Yeah.
I shattered the planchette. It shattered the handle, and right then and there, I was overwhelmed by all of the emotion that was ever put through that planchette, and it was so intense that I just dropped to the ground and I started crying because I felt so emotional and I had no idea why. And at that point, right then and there, is like when it just boom, just exploded, and suddenly I was like this hardcore empath. Before leading up to it, I was very intuitive, and I had like slight empathic abilities as far as sensing other people's emotions, but I never understood it, and it wasn't this severe until that point when it was just, it blew up in my face, and I had so much emotions, and that started me on my journey through the empathic journey of learning what it was, learning how to control it, learning how to use it to my benefit, other people's benefit, yada, 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 yada.
Open the floodgates, so to speak.
That it did. It was literally like if you have a small electrical current running through a very small wire, and then you take an outside piece of metal and you touch it to that electrical wire, and then you short it out by touching another piece of metal somewhere, and it just it just sparked like crazy. It just blew up in my face, and suddenly it was just boo, holy fucking shit, I can't handle any of this, what is going on? It was the most intense thing ever.
Similar experience later on in my life. I mean, like I said, I was minorly empathic in general. I mean, I could sense feelings, I could sense, the emotion of others. And then one day, and this happened within the last 3 years, I was just sleeping, woke up at like 5 a.m., woke up, sat straight up out of a dead sleep, and I was sitting there for like 30 seconds, and I was still kind of groggy, and the next thing I know, it was like I got hit, sitting there, like I got hit by a bus. It felt like I was thrown out of my own body for a split second. It happened so fast. And then, everything stopped swimming after about 30 seconds, and I came to, and then after that, It was like I had 3 or 4 roommates in the house at the time, and it came to a point when I was like, "What's going on?" Like I would sense people in the house before they got home. Like the one roommate would come home and it'd always be hungry, always be hungry. I'd be full. The next thing you know, my stomach's like trying to growl, or at least that's what it feels like to me. And I'm like, why am I? I just ate. I ate like friggin' 3 pounds of food, and oh, every time she come, you need to eat something because I can't deal with people type deal. And it's gone to the point now, like even focusing on specific person or whatever to a point where I can even pull memories from people and be like,
Whoa,
what's going on with this? Like,
memories.
why are you sad about this cloth? Type just pull out specific instances like from memories. I can't do it at random or anything. I mean, it takes some focus. It takes a little bit to do something like that, but it's unique because it always leads to somebody not realizing something about themselves is more or less the what happens with it.
It sounds more like an underlying psychic ability that is brought out through your empathic abilities. Because that doesn't seem like it would be related to the empathic property of it, more so an underlying psychic ability in order to, reach into a memory.
The way I've learned, like I said, I started off as empathic with meditation. Then I learned this whole concept of connecting to others, that I can physically remotely connect. I mean, you yourself, Kidril, have experienced with pain management. I've done it, and then that was the thing. I started realizing I can help people with headaches, with pain,
Mm-hmm.
with anxiety, with ADHD. I can help deal with their issues to some extent to steady them. I could do a little bit with helping people sleep, even helping them they can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep. Well, here, try this. I did it to a bartender once where I helped her stay awake because she was falling asleep sitting at the bar and she had to drive 45 minutes to get home. And as soon as she got home, she said, "I got home. Soon as I opened my door, I passed out almost before I could hit the couch."
Wow.
Like, she's like, "But I was wide awake the whole ride home." And then, like I said, I told you, as soon as you walk through that door, you're gonna crash, and you're gonna crash hard. And then
Yeah.
with that, because of that aspect and the way I went about it, I picked up on emotions when you connect too, and that started to lead into this whole I can delve deeper if need be, and it's slowly evolved. So whether it's psychic, whether it's because of empathic, it all started off because of empathic. So I look at it as a progression of my empathic ability.
I can see that. Yeah. My well, if we look at it as that, the progression of my empathic abilities started with obviously just the feeling of other people's emotions, and from there on, I noticed I started to see people's futures, but not like see it through, like, I couldn't see images. It came to me as just, I knew what the future would be like for them. But, like, for example, when I was down in my kindred down in Appleton before I had left, I was the vulva, I was the seethe, I was the seer of the
Mm,
group, and people would ask me questions about the future, and I would just concentrate on it for a short, brief period, not even like completely just I need to concentrate. It just was like, okay, I just started thinking about that, and only that, and then it just came to me. I just knew what the answer was. And I mean, I'm not just saying like who's going to win the Super Bowl kind of thing. I had a member ask me about his mother. She had kidney failure and it wasn't looking good, and they were waiting to hear from the doctor uh, on if it would be a good answer or a bad answer. And
mm,
he asked me, will she be here for Christmas? And right away, I just felt like, yes, she will still be here. And she's going to get good news as far as the kidney treatments and the dialysis and all that. She's going to get good news, and she's going to be here for a lot longer than you think she's going to be. And it just came to be. It came to be that way. And it's not like had to focus too much. It's just the natural progression to where I got that whenever anybody asked me something specific like that, I could give them an answer, and it always came to pass. It never was wrong, and it wasn't even off a little bit. It was just like direct. This is what it's going to be, and then that's what it was. And it was just I was just like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like I helped it along a little bit here. Actually, I have it right here because I hold this stone in high regards. This here is a Super 7 stone. I don't know if you can see this here. Let me try and make it focus.
Yeah, it's decent. Decent. There you go. Yeah, that's a lot better.
Oop, I'm stuck. It's a Super 7 stone. It has 7 different variety of crystal in it, and it's only formed in one part of the world. And it helps you hone and enhance your psychic ability. And I started wearing it in 2013, and I stopped wearing it in 2015. And because it started to progress too fast, so I took it off. And I mean, it helps. The way I view crystals is it helps you focus your intent, and the resonance through that crystal, is like a baseline for amplifying it in yourself. And when you wear that resonance on your skin, it in your being, it's that's a whole nother segment. But
Energy transfer in a sense.
yeah, and it's just one of those things where that's how far it got. And then I stopped wearing it, and I can also now do like this. Before I started really focusing and honing my skill, I couldn't read other people. But now it seems like even from afar, from all the way across the world, if I'm talking to them, even just via text or through a messenger, I can feel them, and I know what they're thinking almost. Like, I can't read their mind, but I can feel like what's coming. Like, I can read what they are feeling and the sort of
surface of it.
Yeah, I can feel the surface of it, and I can kind of see where it's going next because of intuition. You know what I mean? So I can help guide whatever we're talking about in that manner. Like, I can prepare myself for what's about to come because I know what's about to come because of just what I feel. And it's helped so much with psychology. That's why I went into psychology, was to help people. And having intuition in the beginning was great, but then having this empathic psychic ability on top of it, it's amazing. It's like psychologists should be psychic because it helps so much.
It would change the game, and in a lot of cases, that whole aspect of it, being able to just be in the other person's shoes, even if it's at a surface level, gains greater understanding of what they're going through.
Exactly. I gotta charge my headphones here.
As for the whole, future picturing thing, for me, it's like it's kind of like a whole movie going at Mach 90, and it just flashes through my head, so I don't like see anything specific. But if you ask a specific question, well, then it's like a needle in a haystack. You ask a specific question, that's your anchor point, and then you have to look for that specific thing. And it's same concept though, as you just know, and it's weird. It's weird for me, and you don't get to see everything either. You can delve most of the information, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with it where you start talking to somebody about a future event or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like a cat's got your tongue. All of a sudden you can't speak about it.
Yeah.
Like you're just stopped dead in your tracks. Yeah. And I've noticed when you push past that and you give somebody something that you have that type of reaction with, there's always consequences involved after the fact. And they're usually not good for yourself.
Right. It's almost like something is punishing you for trying to see through the veil.
I look at it from a universal standpoint, universe being the majority of everything, and there is a balance to everything. And You tell one person too much about their future, that whole future might just derail because
Well, yeah.
they know everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the future when it, in any movie that is out there anywhere on the planet, when you go to a fortune teller and they tell you a future, and if they say anything past that, they say what? They say that this is just one possibility of many possibilities.
The future is very quasi fluid,
It is, and that's
very
where it comes
fluidic
down
nature.
to like when you start thinking about quantum mechanics. Here we go again with the quantum mechanics, but it's the same thing. It's having quantum realms where this decision sends you this way, this decision
Yep.
sends you that way, this decision sends you that way. And it depends on your decisions how it comes. And there are infinite possibilities of the outcome because that's how free will works.
I remember conversations with people that I have known for years. I remember conversations that we've never even had, like seeing across those different realm divides, and it's weird when it happens because I'll have somebody talking to me and I'll be like, "Yeah, we talked about this like 6 months ago. This is what you said. This is what I said. This is what you said,"
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, no, but that's right." I'm like, "What?"
See, I have that
No,
happen too. I have that happen too. Isn't it weird? It's like you know exactly what was said with that person. Even the
but
question they asked or whatever was said, it's like,
but you
yeah,
never had that
yeah,
conversation.
you
Like
never had that
it's
conversation. It's almost like while we're unconscious, sleeping, our unconscious mind is like out there somewhere just floating around or something, getting all these little
soaking,
bits of information from
soaking.
different
Yes,
cosmic realms, and we're just like learning while we sleep in different realms. It's really freaking weird. Like, no, totally.
it's
And then I've already had it. This is really weird. This is a weird experience, if I may say. I woke up once because I heard my great grandma's voice in my ear,
hmm
and it was
I know.
plain as day, like she was right there next to me by my bed saying in my ear, "Kidril, wake up." And I woke up and there was nothing. She wasn't there, and I called her. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. And not even a day later, I was sleeping but on the couch, and she came over and she just leaned over and was like, "Kidro, wake up." But it was that exact same tone, the same
Yep.
frequency, the same length, the same everything. And I was like, what the hell's going on, you know? And then she told me something about it, you know, or whatever. She told me what she wanted. She came over and whatnot to see my son. And we went out to dinner, or
hmm
not dinner, lunch. We went out to lunch, and the next day I fell asleep and I heard the same thing, only it was quieter. And I woke up and I called her, and I'm like, "So this is what's going on." You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're not going to believe this because I don't even believe what's going on. It's just really strange." And she told me that she had come over the day prior to wake me up, but I was like out of it. So, I mean, this is
hmm
when my son was like an infant yet, so I was doing the
Yeah.
whole mom nap when I could, and I was
hmm
really out of it. And she whispered in my ear, "Kedril, wake up," and I didn't wake up. But it's almost like a quantum echo at this point where I was
Yep.
hearing it multiple times throughout the week, and it was so freaking weird. It's almost
But but
like,
but it, when you look at the length that it happened, it was like within, like you said, like within a week. So it
yeah,
makes sense to be an echo of
yeah.
all these different versions of it.
Yeah, or I'll even dream about something that happens, and I'll wake up and I'll be like, "Oh shit." Like it was like a terrible dream, like somebody got hurt or in an accident or
Mm.
something, and everybody's fine. But then a week later I wake up and I get a call saying that, "Hey, your friend Joe was in an accident. He ran into the back of a dump truck in the middle of the night, blah blah blah. He's in the hospital." And it's the
Yeah.
exact same thing that I just dreamt about. It's almost like precognition, but I have no control over the precog part.
See,
That just
that's one of them.
happens when it wants to happen.
That's See, that's one of them hard things though, to really gauge if something, like when you have these types of abilities, like when you're talking precog, when you're talking like the different realm quantum aspect
If
of it,
it's
different
real
realms
or
of
your
viewing, it's
imagination.
very well, it's real hard to distinguish. Like if you understand your ability and you know this is had to have happened, or you have that feeling that you just know this has happened, you just don't know how it relates. But the point I'm getting across in this is it's hard to tell the difference what is going to be a future event when it comes to precognition or something that's happening in a different realm, because you
Yeah,
could
yep,
have a event and you're like this is going to happen, and then 6 months later it doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden something happens that is so similar to it but it's just tweaked.
yep,
Like somebody made a different decision, and the weirdest thing about it is you're like, oh my god, I can see how this decision would have affected it this way, and how this decision did affect it, and you start to see the connections based on
yeah,
that. But it's real hard to gauge the differences.
yeah. That and um, stepping back a little bit away from the quantum realm, that might still have something to do with it. But people who, like when I was first developing these skills, right? I mean, it was still like, wow, I don't know if this is real or not, or if they're the voices in my own head that are mine, kind of thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I would think of these things that might happen, or I would have a conversation in my head with somebody that obviously
Yep.
is just in my head, but is it real? Is it going to happen? Did it happen? Whatever, or is it just me talking to somebody in my mind because I'm talking to myself in my head, It after
That
it's still one of those things where it still gets me sometimes because I'll have a conversation in my head, but I'll wonder if it's still just me talking to myself because it's not in any other voice. It's my voice when I'm talking to somebody. It's always in my voice, but sometimes I'll talk to myself, I'll have a conversation, it'll be like me talking to myself, and then I'll have the exact same conversation a day or two later. Like,
it's it's very hard when you're starting to when people start to get into this, they get their spiritual awakening, some people like to call it, and they end up with these gifts, these abilities.
mhm.
And I find everyone that I talk to that is starting off and getting into this and dealing with this whole precognition and intuition and all of that, their biggest issue is always how do I learn what's real, what's not real, what I can trust? And the best advice that I've always been able to give is when you can, you have to verify these events somehow. You know, whether it's you need to talk to somebody, yeah, you might get a few looks and people might be like, "Oh my God, you're crazy," but you start to learn what feeling you can trust, because I guarantee you with every event there's a certain type of feeling when you get into it, a certain just gut instinct almost,
Mhm.
and you got to either learn to trust it or you don't, and then these gifts, these abilities slowly dwindle and they go away.
Yep, yep. And that's one thing that happened to me is I didn't trust them, and pretty soon they just stopped. And
Hmm.
I really wish that I hadn't done that because now I'm back up to using them and utilizing them because now I know what they are. I know how to utilize them to their fullest, but it took me years to get back to that point. And
Oh
had
yes,
I
yes.
actually started understanding and going with it when they first started happening, I mean that was back when I was 16. So had I actually grasped onto that, I can't even imagine where I would be now because I didn't start trying to bring them back until I was about 24 or something like that. So yeah, there's a couple year gap there where I could have been honing it, and I didn't. So who knows? Maybe I should wear this luck Super Seven Stone again. Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
For me, it was I never turned my back on any of the ability that I've ever had. I mean, I've stepped away at points in my life, because I mean, personally, we all go through things, and sometimes just personal situations can become overwhelming. And then if you throw
yeah,
all this extra stuff on top of it, it just is that much more over the top. And it's not a bad thing if you have to take a break. It's not a bad thing if you have to step away. But don't turn your back on what you have for gifts.
Yeah, yeah, never. Man, if I could tell myself, my teenage self, what I know now, I would say don't ignore the things that you question. Embrace the things that you question because they are real. You just have to differentiate between the feelings, like keep on with it because you'll learn about it. You'll learn to trust it and you learn how to utilize it. But here we are, unable to do that.
Takes time. I mean,
Mhm.
it's very, very time intensive. It's a lifetime. Like
Oh
meditation
yeah,
in
yeah.
general, it's a lifetime study. It's a lifetime learning process.
Mhm.
I'm pretty far along in some of the techniques, like learning how to control my body, learning how to control my heart rate, my breathing techniques, anxiety I can control to some extent like this. And
Yeah.
it has taken me 10 years. I mean, I have a seizure disorder even, and meditation has helped me even with that to the point where if I'm in a shitty situation and I can feel a seizure or possible seizure coming on, it's to the point where I can throw myself into a meditational loop to where I can get out of the situation that I'm currently in to make sure nobody's going to get hurt or I'm not going to get hurt.
Yes.
It's happened a few times. Like I was at a bar and I had this person in my face and just was stressing me out, trying to call me out on the fact that I had a seizure disorder because she was friends of a friend and it was yeah, it was a big cluster. Everyone was drunk. I was sober. Everyone else was drunk, and it got to the point where I was like, I'm leaving. I'm walked right out of the bar and I walked a mile and a half home. And when I got home, as soon as I walked in the door and locked it, I had a full blown seizure. The couch was flipped over, the table was flipped over. I was in a closet when somebody finally came home to see what was going on. I was
Jesus.
in a closet, just passed out at that point. And
Wow.
but the mind is a powerful tool,
It really
and
is.
and
Yeah.
and it's learn learn everything you can about yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, example, mind over matter technique here is well, as you know, I have a lot of strokes and when I feel one coming on, I can calm myself down. But see, okay, so when people think of strokes, they think of it's just a coronary like blood clot right to your brain and that's it. You're screwed. But in my situation, it's a little bit different for everybody listening and watching. I have a genetic mutation that causes my blood to clot at 8,000% the average humans. The average human clotting ratio is 0. Women who are on birth control is 1 to 2. Women who are on birth control that smoke is 2 to 3%. There is a heterozygous, which is a one genetic mutation of the factor 5. They are only 5 to 7%. I am a homozygous factor 5 Leiden's mutation, which means both of my genes of factor 5 are mutated. I clot at 8,000%. I'm always on blood thinners. And when I was in an ICU for a week because of multiple strokes in 40 hours, they found a hole in my heart. So what happens is I have the blood trickles through the top two atrials into the left atrial and they pool on the bottom and they clot. And when my blood pressure rises, it spikes it and shoots blood clots to my brain. So I have a lot of TIAs, which are transischemic attacks, mini strokes, because of all the blood clot or blood thinners that I'm on. It dissolves it rather fast. So with me, when I start to experience the onset effects of a stroke, it's the black veil that comes over and I feel like my body getting pulled down, weighted down. My speech gets slurred. I can't think straight. I can pull myself out of it by calming my heart rate down, calming down, all with mindful techniques, and I just calm myself down. I bring my blood pressure back down so more clots don't get sent. and I let my blood thinners that are already in my system dissolve the clot in my brain. And because of that, I have nearly died over 30 times easy. I'm probably up to 45 plus times now, but I stopped counting a long time ago because it just, why bother at 30 times, And it started, now I started getting seizures with my strokes. But that's only if I can't calm myself down. So I calm myself down with mindful techniques, and then bam, I'm fine. No lasting damage, which is the power of the mind. If I had ever heard a story of a power, mind over matter, you know what I mean? Like, mind over matter is such an important thing for people to understand, and mind over matter does play a part with magic, but mind over matter is your own mind overpowering itself to believe that you'll be okay, that you can control the situation. The mind is such a powerful thing, and people take it for granted all the time. Like, it's not even magic at this point. It's just literally your anatomy being amazing.
It's how mothers have lifted cars. It's
yes,
how,
exactly.
Soldiers have lived through
The shit.
deathly experiences. It's how, the guy who had to chop his leg off in the middle of nowhere because he got stuck for 127 hours.
Yep.
That mind. It all relates to mind, spirit, and body.
Yes, exactly. My cam is really irritating me. I wish it wouldn't just randomly flare up and then dip back down to darkness. Anybody that is like annoyed by it, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. It just does it itself. I don't know why. It's just doing it. I apologize.
Windows Discord takes over application of your camera and says, I'm gonna do what I want to do instead of sticking with your video card.
And that's what we're running it through. If anybody is curious, we're running through Discord. We have a Discord server. It is for your viewing, so you can type it in. It is https :// discord.gg geez, I can't talk, / for your viewing. If you type slash like I'm slurring, it's not gonna pop up, but Discord at Gigi. But yeah, our Discord is open for anybody. We are running on 3 different platforms. We're doing YouTube, we're doing a podcast platform, which is transferred all over to a number of services like Audacity, or not Audacity, that's the editing program, Odyssey, Spotify, Amazon Music, a bunch of places. Just search us. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, there you go. Just search
us.
Google is your friend.
Yeah, Google is your friend in this case. And also, what was I gonna say? Oh, and we also do blogs too. What is our blog? Here, let me open it up again on here. Bloop, blog. FYV. There we go. fyvblog.blogspot.com.
If you get a chance to edit, it would be awesome. You could just throw a slide in there with everything for, 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I should here. Let me do that actually.
That wouldn't hurt.
That's supposed to be a good, yes. Well, I can't do the blog or the podcast because it still didn't post to Spotify for some dumb reason. I'm assuming that it's because of the spam issue that we had. So let me type in
20 words equals flags.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's honestly because I tried putting in our
description?
No, not our description. Our blah blah blah. What do you want to call it? Oh, this is way too big. Delete that. Yes, remove blog. I tried to put in all of our URLs to all of our sites, which is a lot because we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on the blog, we have the podcast, and I tried to put and the Discord. I tried to just put all the links in there, and I could see why that would be tagged as a spam, you know.
Also, for your viewing, more content pending.
Yes, more content pending. Always, always, always. All right, with I don't know. Let's just do 1080 by like 720 here. Maybe that'll be good enough. I don't know. Boom. Oops, I didn't put in the I didn't put in the URL. That would kind of be helpful here. There we go. All right, here is our blog. Okay, I gotta click on here. I know how to do this. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Don't you have like
Interact.
a computer science degree almost?
Well, yeah, C++, CompTIA, all that stuff. But, it's, OBS is its own game of crap here. Like, I can't scroll. I'm interacting with the page, but it won't let me scroll for some dumb reason. So, anyway, yeah, at least can see it here. Oh, and if you look up top here, discord.gg/for your viewing, there's our Discord name.
There you go.
Our blog website is, and oh my god, there's too much stuff. Okay, goodbye. Okay, our blog is, oh, here, I can look at it on here. Pfft, I knew that. Wait, why is it doing that? Oh, I see. Boom. Would this work maybe? Nope. Ugh.
Technical errors we'll have to straighten out next time.
Anyway, well, they can kind of see it anyway. Here, I'll just zoom way the hell out so it shrinks. There we go. Oh, it disappeared now. I don't know where it went. I don't know what's going on anymore. Anyway, our blog is fyvblog.blogspot.com. Our YouTube is, well, it doesn't have a link yet because people won't subscribe to it. We need to reach 100 subscribers to get a unique URL. So currently, it's a string of numbers, letters, and just blah, 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 code. You know what?
So
Bolts,
if you like it, subscribe it.
Yeah, Bolt, you know what you need to do? You need to go ahead and you need to make like 10 profiles on Google that are just throwaway accounts and start subscribing with all of them, because I already did it. I already have 15 profiles that I subscribed with my Gmails.
I got one alternate profile. That's a lot of information with memory issues to keep track.
That's okay. Just make throwaway Gmails. That's all. You just gotta make throwaway Gmail. You don't have to remember the password at all, because you just make it, subscribe, forget about it. Next, make a new one, subscribe, forget about it. That's how that works.
Are we talking about cheating the system on a live feed?
Yes. That's how we do it. Everybody out there right now in podcast land or on the YouTube land that is watching or listening, because I'm doing both. I'm streaming to YouTube and converting this into a podcast. Go and search for your viewing. Look for our, I don't know what you want to call it, I guess logo. That isn't really a logo. It's not really a logo. It's just our name, sort of, in a background. Pending. Yeah, logo pending. And subscribe, because we need to really reach 100 subscribers so we can have our own unique URLs, so I can finally make them awesome RFID chip cards that you just book. You just book up to people's phones and they have all the information right there that they could possibly need. And then I'm going to give all the content creators those cards, and we could just walk past people and go boop, 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 boop.
And the more you guys buzz about it, the more we get our content creators involved to put things out there.
Indeed, yes. We need help. We just launched, and it's still early in the release. So we need you guys to help light the fire under their asses so we can create more content for you guys, because what is coming is astrophotography, but not just the photos. He has this beautiful setup of a computer that he can, so he's got a telescope, and he's got a motor mounted on the telescope that keeps it completely geosynced, so the stars don't drift. It stays locked with the stars, and he video feeds it to his laptop to do live streaming. And he's got this amazing, I don't know what you want to call it, I guess like an IR scoped lens that is specifically built to capture infrared of the sun, and he catches mass coronal ejections erupting from the sun. It is so cool. So that's going to be coming soon. We got a blacksmith over in Sweden, and he makes things per request and shows you how to do it, which is so cool. So if you are a new beginning blacksmith yourself and you're like, hey, can you show me how to make a torque or make a tool, he'll make you a tutorial video on how to do that. And we had more, but they kind of derped off into outer space and no longer exist. So yeah, we have those two anyway. It was much more fun to tell everybody about the stuff we had when people actually, you know, were involved before they derped off.
We'll be here hopefully every week with a new episode.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Freebolt and I will be here, and we will release an episode once a week at least. That is our goal, once a week at least. We record Monday nights, and shortly after I upload it, and then basically it just depends on how fast it gets what do you want to call it? Sent out to all of the different distributed. I do start with a D. I was gonna say deliberated, but that is not the right word. Distributed to all the different platforms.
Spotify's deliberating.
Yeah, Spotify is. We're still waiting for our last episode to be posted from 5 days ago or 6 days ago, and it still hasn't posted on Spotify. So
Monday to Monday, 7.
What the hell, Spotify? Anyway.
Call me.
Yeah, call me. Okay.
Right.
Well, I suppose that wraps it up. We are currently at, we're almost at 1.5 hours, so that's not teabag.
This one was a long one.
It was. Well, we had a lot to talk about, so, all right. Thank you for tuning in for your viewing, the listening edition with Freebolt and Special Agent Kidril, and we hope to see you back next time. Bye.
Ciao.